Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of As God See Them Pod. I am your host, Brianne Vay, and today I kind of want to talk about a little bit of everything. Now, not saying I'm going to be all over the place, but I kind of just really want to always keep it authentic with y'all and like always just share the current stuff of my life. And not just about my life, but just talk about the current things that are going on, the current journey that I'm in with God and the season and all of that. Just be very just authentic about it all. And I have like literally been having a tough time, I think, with trusting God all the way. It's hard to admit that because it's like, you feel like you are not truly a believer, or it feels like you're not, truly believing in God when you don't trust Him all the way. Well, that's how I feel. Like, I feel like I should be trusting Him with everything in me. And I'm getting to that point, but it's just, I'm in that, I think, just in that part of my journey where it's just like, okay, I'm learning that I just gotta trust Him. Like, that is my only option. Like, that is my only option, is to trust Him. I can't follow Him if I don't trust Him. What's the point? Like, what's the point of really following God if you don't trust Him? So, I really am just having I kind of been everywhere. That's why I'm like, I want to talk about a little bit everything today. But it's just really about like sharing the journey and hoping that like somebody can relate and I ain't alone, because I am like, I'm having a hard time. I think it's a lot of warfare going on in my life right now too. It's just been a lot. It's been a lot, right? Like, this journey is not for nobody weak, okay? Like, it is hard. It's so hard. Like, it's hard a little bit. And to openly share that is kind of hard too. But that's kind of something else I want to talk about, is like that vulnerability that I've been, in lately. It's like I've really been vulnerable, and it really is like Holy Spirit led, because I was also I was going to talk about like just that the fact that how we hide from so much. I was going to talk about that on this episode, but really I have a lot of things. I can kind of go everywhere today, but we'll just see where we land, right? We'll just see where it goes, for real. I really kind of just, I want to talk about like childhood stuff a little bit too today, but it's like, I just personally like have been having a hard time just like trusting that God is going to do everything that He said He will do. Why, right? Why I'm having a hard time, I feel, with that is because of experiences in my life, like of so much I've experienced in my life. And I think that we all kind of go through those experiences in our lives that change our outlook on certain things. And like, we have to kind of like get to a point where we unlearn what unlearn something that we did learn, I guess, and then unlearn a bad perspective on something that we once had about something. But it's like you just going to unlearn all the things, that all the bad habits and all the bad things that you kind of picked up when you did have certain experiences. And even though I think as a human, it's very normal for us to automatically defend ourselves. Just is human nature for you to be on defense about certain things that make you feel a certain way, or that's human of us to kind of always be ready to defend ourselves about certain things. And so when our bodies kind of like feel things that we don't want to feel, we kind of, as it's part of our human nature to kind of jump to a defense on that. And like an example of that is like when as just example, my example is as a child, always being kind of told what you like, always kind of being told the things that you're doing wrong and never really being led to do the right things. It kind of confuses you, right? It confused me for sure. Like I was very confused, like, okay, people are already always pointing out what I'm doing wrong. Well, why aren't they teaching me how to do the right thing? Because that is often what people do. They like try to like point out what everybody's doing wrong, but nobody's leading nobody to do, I guess, the right thing. And really the real right thing is in the Bible, right? The real right thing to do is what God said to do. And so we learn, you learn that once you do start your journey with him. But it's like I've been like pretty much putting God in a box, and it's something that you have to repent for, because God is matchless. He has no limit, and so putting him in a box is putting a limit on him. And I do that because it's like I start to think I start to think of God as human, right? And I start to attach God to my human experiences. And so in this season of my life right now, God is teaching me, like not even teaching me, but like he is helping me unlearn all the unhealthy things, that I had, he's helping me unlearn all these unhealthy things that I had, picked up and had going on with people. And how he's showing me how I am not putting my full trust in him, and how I am looking at him as my experiences instead of looking at him as the helper of my experiences. And I've been like, just struggling with believing that God is going to work everything out. Like he has the plan for me already, just worrying about the future, worrying about my motherhood, worrying about, really like my career, like what is my purpose? Seriously, like I feel like it's like I'm getting closer to, it's like you truly, it takes a while. I don't know what is going on. I feel like it takes a while for us to like really figure out our purpose, because there's so much character that God, wants to build. And so we don't really truly know what we're called to do until we're literally just one day just up and we're doing the thing that he called us to do. I think we just, I'm learning that it's just my job right now is to follow him, be obedient to whatever it is that he says do. And even if it's not making any type of sense, right? And just continue to follow him. And keep my eyes on him. And if I do that, then I'll be okay. I don't have to, I don't really have to know anything other than like that he is God. He is not a liar. He is the truth, and he is never going to lead me into any, he wants good for me. And so I just been having a hard time with so much. I just been having a lot of questions about like my life, right? I'm about to be 27 in June, and like it's just been a lot of stuff happening in my life, and I feel like, I've been in certain cycles of just like, I think just always trying to get better, right? Like always trying to, I feel like I've always been, first of all, since I was a child, I feel like I've always had to just be older than I've, been. I feel like I've always been like after something better. I've always felt responsible for my entire life all the time. And I've always felt like it was up, the pressure in, all the weight of my life was always going to be on my shoulders. Like, it's like everything is based on me. And so it also feels like I have to, I haven't actually released all the weight and the just everything in my life, right? Like it just, I feel like it's just it's things I'm still carrying that I just haven't given to God. And it's like I I've also realized like I haven't given it to him because I haven't trusted him in that area fully. And I'm asking him to show up in areas that I don't trust him in. And you can't do that. It's no, like with you asking him and believing him, not even, because if you don't trust him really, right, do you believe him, right? So it's like you want God to show up in these areas in your life and you're praying for him, right? But you don't really trust him in the area. And it's like you wonder, like, why am I? You thinking about like, okay, God, are you not hearing me? Are you not? Are you not seeing me? But it's really like, are you trusting me? Like, that's what's God is like, are you gonna trust me in this? Are you gonna trust me with this? Because we can pray for a thing, and God can come through on this thing, but then once he comes through on this thing, it's like then we take the control over that thing. Like God didn't just make this happen for us, and we don't leave God with the control. We somehow we easily forget, and it's like we believe that we just did a thing when really God did. And when I've learned, when that happens, that means that we didn't trust God in the first place. We just wanted his hand on it, and we didn't truly trust him with it. And so I'm just learning that, like, I'm just having so much trouble with trusting him in certain areas in my life. It's hard for me to really admit that, because it's like, I am a believer, and it's like, how can you not trust him? It's not the fact that I'm like, oh, I just don't, I think God is just going to do me so wrong, right? Like, it's like, oh, no. It's really just the fact of these certain areas in my life, like, I feel like I've had the most control on. And it's like, with bad experiences in my life, it's been so hard, like, getting over those experiences. And it's like, okay, I have to truly, like, take what that experience did to me, and I have to lay it down in God, and I have to allow him to use that experience in his glory for my good. And I will be able to then I feel trust him in this area, right? Like, when I fully surrender it, and when I fully be like, okay, God, like, this is yours. My hands is off of it. Like, this is yours, God. I don't want any part. I don't want the control over this. I can say all day that God have all, I can pray all day like, God, uh, I make you root. Like, I can pray all day and say, God, you are the Lord over my life. God, I ask that you show up in all areas in my life. Lord, I ask that you help me acknowledge you in all areas of my life. I can say these things, but the thing is, like, it's like, what is my heart really saying about these things? Am I truly believing God? Like, am I truly trusting him in this area? Because I don't want to say the things. Sometimes I think we pray the things that we think God wants to hear. And we also pray the things that are very obvious, right? We start to pray about the things that we see as a issue, or we see, or we believe that needs prayer. But it's like, we don't necessarily see a lot of things, of course, that God sees. Like, it's a lot of things that we just really are not aware of, that we need to pray. We truly need to be given to God, and that he will actually, with the right prayer, I'm learning this. It's like if you ask God to open up the areas in your heart that are dark, right? The places that you cannot see, the places you are ignorant in, like, it's like he'll start revealing those things to us. But sometimes, because they are not obvious to us, but they are very obvious to God, we start to like think that, God is not answering us. And like, we start to think that like, we're doing something wrong in our prayer. And we start to really like, because because there's so many things we're not aware of, like we don't realize that there's so many areas in our life we truly are really not trusting God in. Like we start to think that God only sees the obvious things that we see, but it doesn't work like that, right? God sees what your heart is dealing with. He sees that struggle. And so I'm just in this point where I'm like, okay, like God is so much being just coughed up, because this is I believe, a very important season in my life. I believe, because it's just, I don't know what else to say other than that. I think this is a very important season in a lot of our lives. I think a lot of people are going through some very important seasons. This is a time that I think we need to pay attention. Like, we really gotta listen to God. God is really like trying to speak, and I don't know how else to say that. It's just like it's really wild. But I just think about like, we like trusting God has been something that has been a roller coaster for me. And I know that it's possible that, I will get to a full point where I do I really like have this trust in Him, like, like I've never had in my life. And I have a trust in God that I did not have before when I first started my walk. So I know that I'm going to get to, it's just all about just growing spiritually. That's really all this is about. And so it's like, I just got to keep growing in my walk and keep looking, and keep trusting Him with what I already trust Him with, but also keep focusing on Him and knowing that He's going to finish the work that He started. And so, yeah, that was kind of like, yeah, but I really, kind of want to talk about it, today episode. It really won't be too long, right? Like, I just, I love the fact that, I'm learning this vulnerability thing, right? Like, just being very open. And that's something else I want to talk about. Like, God has been revealing to me that I've been hiding. And the things, for a long time, I remember like just always having, since I was a kid, I used to always like just be very vocal, and I used to always like speak on things that I felt was very important, and I used to stand on things that I believed to be very important. I used to, stick up for people when I felt that they were being treated unfairly. And God brought this memory to me to actually, I think it was earlier today or yesterday, and about like how I used to do these things. And I kind of got emotional about it because, first of all, I'm just emotional. Okay. But I am, secondly, it's just like, I didn't realize how much of a hiding place I had went into. Now, it's one thing, I think, when God has you hidden, when He's hiding you. But I think it's another thing when we start to hide ourselves, where we are just so comfortable in not in the background, and we are so comfortable in just not being, not saying you need to be seeking attention, but like not, really standing on the things that we know are right. Really like just using the voice that God has called you to use. And it's not for everybody, but who it is for, like really, standing on what God has called you to do. It's like, God has called you to do something, but you are so comfortable with hiding that you just don't pursue, or that you don't be obedient to what God has called you to do, the visions, the dreams, like these, God constantly, will run things across your mind, and you wonder why, right? But then you have all this doubt, and this is me, right? You have all these things that are cluttered around what God is trying to tell you to do. Actually, this was me. I'm like, I have so many things that have been God's cleaned up, right? But it's just like, I remember being so clouded, and it was just like, God, you've given me all these talents, given me these gifts. What am I supposed to be really doing? But really, it's like when you sit down and you really be quiet and you really just kind of like allow God to kind of just continue, like you allow God to really speak to you. And that is a time in rest and quietness is what I've learned. My goodness. But yeah, I really been like getting that revelation of I've been hiding. Also, I've been getting revelation of me being naive, of me being like that, trying to make everybody comfortable girl, right? Like that people pleasing, right? I'm slowly growing out of that. Like, goodness gracious, like just that is hard to grow out of when you, especially, all all the people who have that childhood trauma of like never being good enough for a family, or like always feeling like you are messing up and like what you're doing is never right? You grow into this adult who just who really don't want to deal with rejection again. And so when you find a way to not deal with that rejection, which is people pleasing and kind of overextending yourself all the time, it gets to a point where you don't like, what I'm saying, it's hurting you, but you feel like it's helping you because it's like not rejection. So you start doing this thing, and it actually becomes a lifestyle, and then it becomes something. It pushes you into a whole different cycle than you were in before, when you wasn't people pleasing and you was getting rejection. But it's like, also, I just thought about this, like, so we make rejection feel so bad, and you wonder, why does the human mind tie rejection to a bad experience? Because it's like, rejection really lets you know what isn't for you. It's like rejection lets you know what isn't meant for you. So this is a true question. Like, where did you wonder why we like tie this, why do we tie rejection to our, like, is to a bad experience? Because rejection has always, and even if we admit it or not, right, in the long run, rejection has always led you into the direction of like where you're supposed to be. Like, okay, if that didn't work out, then let me try this. And if, like, it's always just led you into a different direction from where you were supposed to be. Like, so it's just like, yeah. But yeah, I said I want to talk about everything today. I'm kind of all over the place, right? Like, I just, I remember being like so fearless as a kid, right? Like, I remember like just being, so I was thinking about these things. Like, I just remember just having all this, just, I was very fearless as a kid. And it's like, I grew into this hiding place of just not, I feel like as I got older, especially, I want to say after like high school, I started to grow very quiet in my life, where I just started to hide. It's just like, you just get to a point where I think where you feel like so comfortable in just like not letting anybody know anything, right? Where you just, it's a wall, right? We call it a wall, whatever. It's just like, you get into those hiding places and you become comfortable. And when God is trying to call you out, you kind of miss some blessings because you're so comfortable with hiding. And, that's something I feel like I'm being called out of this hiding place, while also discovering so much. And it's like, when you are in a hiding place, you don't discover anything. You just hide. And it's like now I'm being called out of that place, and it's so many things I'm discovering. It's pretty scary. It's like, oh, okay, I did not know I could do this. Like, or it's real ugly, or it's like stuff like, okay, I didn't know I had this going on. I didn't know I was fighting with this. That's because it's like when you're in a hiding place, you're at a stillness. You're just in a stillness. You're not really gaining, you're not really losing, right? It's comfortable. So yeah, yeah, I really, I just, it's been a lot. But I really just like wanted to talk about like a bunch of things today, but not too much, right? Like that's really what it is. It's just all about, mainly if we, gonna, kind of snap it all together for real. It's really about trusting God and moving forward, right? I'm just having this tough time. I remember, like, I was thinking about, like, you know, past experiences a lot too lately. I've been thinking a lot about that too, and I don't know why necessarily. Like, I just been thinking about a lot of my childhood stuff, and it's not really negative. It's just like I was thinking about like how I used to like be so bold, and I used to do all these things that didn't bother me then, but they bother me now. And I was thinking about like how much of our purpose is really in our childhood. By God bringing that memory of me being a kid. I got that memory yesterday. I think it was yesterday or today, but like when I got that memory of when I did something so fearlessly, when I just like used to speak up, and I used to I had all this confidence and this boldness. I remember. And it just quickly got drained away, right? Because of just so many experiences. But like, you think about like how God was like, as you, when you are a kid, I think God really like, he already had like the things that God wants you to do really shows up as a kid, right? Even though we do grow, we do mature, we're supposed to do those things, but we mature with God. We mature the things that God gave us already. And I'm learning that as a parent now. It's like, I watch what my children are doing, and it's like some things that even annoy you, that like you realize that God has already like put these certain things in your children already, that he wants you to groom and mature. He doesn't want you to take it away. And I think as a kid, a lot of us got some of those things taken away from us. So as we get older, it's like we fighting for those things back, because as a kid you're so fearless, and you're literally your purest form. And it's like we get so much of that innocence taken away. We get just so much of that boldness taken away because of like stuff that happened. And as we get older, of course, it's like that stuff. When you were a kid, right, you don't have anything to go off of but what you had as a childhood. Like, you don't have anything all you have is your childhood as an example. So when whatever you have going on in your childhood, it literally rolls over into adulthood, because that's all the only way you move, you go into different parts of your life is from what you learned in the last life, right? And so I think about like how a lot of us, we all, right, have had an experience in our childhood, like good experiences, like when we were like we were like just pure, nothing, we didn't think about the things we did, we just did them. We all have those experiences that we remember where we just didn't care. And so not a, I don't like a ruthless, way, in a way of just being fearless, and where you just did not worry about what the world had going on. As children, no, they don't care about what the world what goes on in the world. They just do, because their spirit, they're so pure. And we get all of that taken away at not everybody, right? But when you have certain experiences, you get some of that taken away from you. And so it's just like, as you get older, you just think about like how God already had, like he already put, what he already put, all of that you needed. He already put it in you, and you just gotta know it, right? I think we just gotta know it. And even with the bad experiences that come, we just gotta know it once. And of course, that comes with when you start to know God. And it's like God really just, he, as a kid, right? It's like he gives us, he already formed the purpose for us, but he allows the experiences for us, because with those experiences, right, it's literally already lined up and planned for his glory when you come to him about them. It's like you gotta allow those. If we were children who had perfect lives, and we just did, everything just worked out always so smoothly, we wouldn't even have a reason to want to know God. So it's like God, he as children, it's like we everything that God has, everything that he needs for us to have, we will have it. But then we, of course, when we get into those, when we grow up and we get into our adulthood, we start to have more experiences, and those experiences kind of leads us to make different choices in our lives. And with those choices, we then create more experiences, and God allows these experiences to happen, and he allows just a lot of things to happen that leads us back to another choice, or more choices, just leads us back to a choice to believe in him, right? And it's just like, that's why he has people that are placed in our lives for certain reasons, and it all leads back to him. And it's just like, is mind-blowing. Like, this season has got me in a whole different mind space. I've been saved again since 2021. I've been saved, and this season that I am in now has probably been the hardest season of my walk, like, of my life. Even before I was like, I've been in a very just tough season of just like really figuring out life. I'm about to be 27 in June. And it's like, we be thinking that we're supposed to have everything together. In reality, I'm learning that God definitely has the last laugh, and not in the last laugh of misery, or like the last laugh of glory. Like, he is the timekeeper. He is time. God is time. And so my, society mind has me thinking that I'm supposed to be doing certain things at a certain time, when I didn't even make time. I didn't even create my own life. And so I'm learning, like, I didn't even, I'm trusting, I'm trying to have control over all these things in my life. And I didn't even make my life. I didn't even create it. God did that. And so that's the one I need to be trusting with my life. And that just sums up like where I've been at, of trusting him and really, really like giving him everything. It is just a daily thing that I need. I'm going to have to do every day. Like, it's going to just be a constant daily journey. Seriously, it's going to be a constant daily journey for me. But I just, it's something that you have to kind of hear yourself say. Today was super simple episode today. But I wanna let you guys know that remember that it's not about what the world sees, but it is about what God sees.